Many people don't know this, a little factoid, but the founding of America, the founders of America, were very connected to the Tanakh and thereby the Torah. I'm more than certain that they knew about the Hebrew calendar, they knew about events in Jewish history, they knew about all of the holidays, major holidays, minor holidays. They wanted to make, and you guys can look this up, they wanted to make Hebrew the official language of America, which obviously wasn't going to happen, but they wanted to do that. A lot of what they formulated centered around Tanakh principles, centered around God's principles, even though many people have forgotten what those are. Factoid, July 4th, 1776, that year on the Hebrew calendar fell out on the 17th of Tamuz. Now the question you have to ask yourself is, did this happen by accident? I venture to say, I don't think so, my friends. On top of that, I'm not going to go so far as to say that the founding fathers knew that the month of Tamuz is connected to Eisav. And I'm not going to go so far as to say that the founding fathers knew that the project called America would be intended to be the good part of Eisav. I'm not going to go so far as to say that the founding fathers knew that this is an opportunity for Eisav to rejoin with Yaakov, his brother, his twin brother. I'm not going to say that. I'm also not even going to say that the 17th of Tammuz is already the second half of the month of Tammuz, right? Even though it's connected to Eisav, which represents the tikkun of the month, the brunt of it, right? So, even though it's the 3 weeks, I'm not going to say that, but I am going to say that Hashem obviously has intention here. Hashem obviously has a plan. We fast forward, guys, 200 some odd years, 200 plus, right, to the year 2004. Democratic National Convention, July 27, 2004. The person running for president at that time was John Kerry. But who made the keynote speech? A man by the name of Barack Hussein Obama, an Illinois state senator, local politician in Illinois, municipal. What was the date on the Hebrew calendar that day, my friends? The day was the 9th of Av, Tisha B'av. It really was in the evening, so it was already the 10th. But as we know, our sages tell us that we know from history that the temple burned until the 10th, and our sages tell us that we cannot, the morning, M-O-U-R-N-I-N-G, continues until Hatzot of the 10th. We cannot shave, we cannot eat meat, and drink wine until Hatzot, until after Hatzot. So, Obama, probably the most, antagonistic president Israel has ever had to deal with, gave his first speech to the public on Tisha B'av, the most calamitous day in Jewish history, when 2 temples were destroyed, when the Jews were kicked out of Spain. Certain elements of the Holocaust were planned that day. Gush Katif, which was a year after he spoke. It hadn't happened yet, but these are all things that are baked in, as Ben Shapiro likes to say, into the fabric of the universe, into the spiral of time, right? So, we fast forward 20 years later, we see what we see today. And now there's talk of, as if these people were all surprised. Folks, if you think that they were surprised last night, the people who were, the Democrats, the leftists on television who were yelling about Biden needing to be, if you think that they didn't see things that were literally worse in all his speeches and all his appearances on TV prior to this debate. This debate, relatively speaking, in my opinion, he looked better in terms of clinically and medically, physically, than he has in his random appearances. And these people are feigning surprise. Folks, we know that they had this long game plan all along, right? We know that. So, August 19th, they're going to present, America, the world, with someone else. They will. They probably will unveil him before that. Or her. Or it. Or we don't know what. August 19th, this year, my friends, falls out on Tisha B'av, the 15th of Av. It is the happiest day on the Hebrew calendar. So, my friends, we go back to the Founding Fathers. They most likely knew that this place that they're creating, this idea, this experiment they're creating, would be a tikkun for everything that Eisav, the bad part of Eisav, and this is something I'm taking from my Kesson, did to the Jewish people. And they knew that whatever they're creating is going to get such a bracha, it's going to be so blessed, as you can clearly see. Folks, I mean, even with all the money that's wasted and spent and overspent and debt, it's a miracle that a country that engages in such financial malfeasance is still the wealthiest country in the world. It's a country that gives the most hesed to the world, where the people themselves give the most charity, and if you don't count taxes, I'm talking about just voluntary charity. It's astounding, right? So they probably knew that they're creating this tikkun nation for Eisav, for Edom. And so we're probably going to see the downfall of evil on August 19th, the beginning of the downfall of evil. Not only that, we're going to see November, Eisav is going to have to make a choice. Eisav himself, there's an internal fight within him. There's been an internal fight, my friends, and I tell my friends and my family about that. This fight is theirs. This fight is Eisav's. If we're the Jews, we're Yaakov, we're Israel. We have our own thing to worry about. We have our own country. We have our own, state. There's a battle for the soul of essentially Yaakov. And he's allowing the bad part of Eisav to influence him. That's a whole other story, as you can see in Israel. But Eisav is going to have a choice. America is going to have a choice. It's the bad part versus the good part of him. And it's going to be obvious to a lot of people what evil is and what good is. We understand that this whole thing, my friends, and especially since October 7th, at this point it's a good and evil scenario. It's not Democrats and Republicans, conservatives and leftists. It's just a good and evil scenario. That's all this is. Are people going to go with Hashem? Or are people, and I'm not even talking about becoming religious or being Jewish or Torah, just 7 laws of Noah. Are people going to go with Hashem, or are they going to go with, this Gnostic fruitcakery that we've seen? That's really it, guys. And so, it started on Tisha B'av 2004. It's going to culminate on the 15th of Av. I neglected to tell you, the 15th of Av, guys, was the harvest, when the harvest begins in Israel. It was a very happy day. It's when, this non-married ladies go dance in the fields. Basically, it's a day of shidduchim, it's a day of love, of marriage. It's when the wood for the temple was brought every year. A lot of things happen on that day. That day, our sages tell us that day and Yom Kippur are the 2 happiest days on the Hebrew calendar. And to be honest with you, I highly doubt that the Democratic Party knew
that August 19th would be Tisha B'av. I suspect that the Founding Fathers knew that July 4th, 1776, was the 17th of Tamuz. I also don't think that Obama knew that July 27, 2004 was Tisha B'av, 9th of Av. So, the people who are connected to Torah are aware of certain things. The Gnostic fruitcakes, highly doubtful, and we can see that Hashem is the one pulling the strings in this whole thing. There are no accidents, my friends. These dates are not accidental. Nothing here is accidental. And the fact that we are in a situation now where it's just a good and evil scenario, it's just a scenario where you gotta pick. Even if you don't like what you're seeing in terms of personality on a personal level, orange this and, all the rest of it, it really just is a good and evil scenario, my friends. That's really what this is. And Eisav is going to have to decide, does he want to join with his twin brother back? Guys, again, our sages tell us that Eisav was on an even higher level than Yaakov, spiritual, and he sold it all. He didn't want to be bothered. He just wanted to run around and hunt and do whatever he wanted to do. I'm not going to say what other things he did. So, my friends, he has a tremendous opportunity. And you know how I know that he's very spiritual? Because, guys, you go around this country in America, you talk to a lot of God-fearing people. I hate to say this, a lot of them have more, I guess, just pure emunah, pure faith than a lot of Jews that I met, unfortunately. And that's a different discussion. That's there's a reason for that. The Yetzer Hara is not as strong, but it's a tremendous opportunity, my friends. And with that said, yeah, I do think that Jews should come home to Israel, only because this fight that we're going to see, and it's not going to only be a fight at the ballot box. It's going to extend, unfortunately, to the streets. It's not our fight. It really isn't ours. Let Eisav figure himself out, because him figuring himself out is, a physical matter. It's not only an ideological matter, it's a physical matter. And, if you guys know the story, Yaakov had to send gifts. Yaakov had to pray. Yaakov had to prepare. He had to be vigilant. And then he gave him a hug and all the rest of it. And then he wrestled with his angel. That's a whole other story, my friends. But this is ultimately now Esav's internal battle. And we have our own things to take care of. Our own internal stuff. The Supreme Court of Israel, judicial reform, traitors, not traitors like Traders, but Traitors, like people who betray. And we have that to worry about. And I'm sure Eisav will make the right decision, but it's still not going to be easy. It's not going to be pretty. I want to say grab your popcorn, but it's not something to make light of. It's not fun. It looks funny. Yesterday it looked kind of funny, but it's not fun. Anyway, guys, that's my 2 cents on that. God has a very specific trajectory here. His timing is very precise, and I find it amazing. Zat Hashem, everything will work out. All right. Shabbat Shalom.